Yuna pressed her face against the shuttle window and smiled. Earth looked beautiful from this distance, a blue marble hanging in the darkness of space. She was finally going home after 6 months on Mars, where she had been studying engineering at the Colony University. Her parents would be waiting at the spaceport, probably with her favorite meal already prepared. The shuttle was full of people like her. Families returning home, workers finishing their contracts, students on break. Children ran up and down the aisles while their parents tried to calm them down. An elderly couple sat across from Yuna, holding hands and talking quietly about seeing their grandchildren again. It was a normal flight, the kind that happened every day across human space. Yuna pulled out her tablet and reviewed her final project notes. She had designed a new type of air recycling system that could work in smaller habitats. Her professor said it was brilliant work. She wanted to show it to her brother Taiho when she got home. He always understood her excitement about engineering, even when no one else did. The pilot's voice came over the speaker. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're making a small course correction. Nothing to worry about. We'll be on Earth in about 4 hours. Yuna did not think much of it. Course corrections were normal in space travel. She went back to her notes, making small changes to her designs. Around her, people continued their conversations and activities. Everything felt safe and routine. An hour passed. Then the shuttle shook slightly. People looked up, concerned but not yet afraid. The pilot's voice returned, and this time there was tension in it. "We've been intercepted by a Vrex warship. Please remain calm. We're cooperating with all their demands." Yuna's heart began to beat faster. Everyone knew about the Vrex. They were one of the most powerful races in the Galactic Council, warriors who looked down on humanity. Earth had been part of the Council for 73 years, but always as the weakest member. Humans were not allowed to have a real military. They could not colonize new worlds. They had to follow rules that other species did not. But the Vrex had no reason to stop a civilian shuttle. They were in open space, not bothering anyone. Yuna looked around at the other passengers. Parents were pulling their children close. The elderly couple stopped talking and just held each other tighter. The shuttle's communication system crackled. A harsh voice filled the cabin, speaking in the common galactic language that all species used. "Human vessel, you have entered Vrex priority space. This is not permitted," the pilot responded immediately. "This is civilian transport shuttle Morningstar. We did not knowingly enter restricted space. Our navigation shows we're in open territory. We're adjusting course now to exit this area. Please confirm safe heading." There was silence. Yuna could hear her own breathing. Someone behind her started crying softly. A child asked his mother what was happening, but she did not answer. The Vrex voice came back. "There is no safe heading for humans who do not know their place." The pilot's voice rose in panic. "We have 247 civilians on board. Families, children, elderly. We're complying with all of the communication cut off." The shuttle's emergency alarms began screaming. Yuna saw through the window as bright energy beams locked onto their ship. She understood immediately what was about to happen. They were going to die, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. People began screaming. Parents covered their children with their bodies. The elderly couple kissed each other one last time. Yuna thought of her brother, her parents, all the things she would never get to do. She thought of the air recycling system she had designed and would never build. 3 children near her were crying hysterically, calling for their mother who was somewhere else in the shuttle. Without thinking, Yuna unbuckled and moved to them. She pulled them close, all 3 of them, and began to sing. It was an old lullaby her mother had sung to her when she was small. Her voice shook, but she kept singing. The children stopped screaming. They buried their faces against her and listened. Yuna sang about stars and dreams and going home. She sang even as the shuttle shook harder. She sang even as the lights began to flicker. She sang until the very end. The Vrex warship fired its main weapons. The shuttle Morningstar exploded instantly. All 247 people on board died within seconds. Their final distress signal, including Yuna's singing, was recorded by automatic beacons and transmitted across space before everything went dark. On Earth, Taiho was at his military post when he received the notification. His sister was dead. The official report said it was a navigational accident. The Galactic Council sent a formal apology. No action would be taken against the Vrex. These things happened in space, they said. It was regrettable but not criminal. Taiho listened to his sister's final transmission. He heard her singing to children who were not her own, trying to comfort them in their last moments. He heard the fear in her voice that she tried so hard to hide. He heard the exact moment when everything ended. He sat in silence for a long time. Around him, other officers moved through their duties. Earth's defense corps was small, barely enough to patrol their own solar system. Everyone knew they were not a real military. They were just for show, to pretend Earth had some dignity. But Taiho knew something that most people did not. He had heard rumors, whispers from officers who sometimes said too much after drinking, stories about ships being built in secret places, about weapons that officially did not exist, about humans training for a war that everyone pretended would never come. He had always dismissed these stories as fantasies. Humans hoping for power they did not have. But now, sitting with his sister's death fresh in his mind and the galaxy's indifference clear, Taiho found himself hoping the rumors were true. Far away, beyond the edge of Earth's solar system, in the cold darkness of the Oort cloud, thousands of people received the same news that Taiho did. They watched the footage of the shuttle's destruction. They listened to Yuna singing in her final moments. They read the Galactic Council's dismissal of her death and the deaths of 246 others. These people lived and worked on ships that officially did not exist. For decades, they had built and trained in absolute secrecy. They were humanity's hidden strength, the weapon Earth had been creating while pretending to be weak. They had always known that one day they might need to reveal themselves. They had hoped that day would never come. Captain Daehyun stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Indomitable and looked at Yuna's picture. Someone had sent it to him along with her final transmission. She looked so young, so full of life. She had wanted to build things that would help people. Instead, she had died singing to frightened children while the galaxy did nothing. He turned to his crew. They were all watching him, waiting. These were people who had given up normal lives to serve on ships no one knew existed. They had families they could not tell the truth. They had sacrificed everything for a cause they believed in. Send the message, Daehyun said quietly. It's time. Across the hidden fleet, 2,000 warships began to wake up. Their engines, cold and dark for so long, started to burn. Their weapon systems, tested only in secret, came online. Their crews, trained for this moment but hoping it would never arrive, took their positions. The galaxy had killed a girl named Yuna. The galaxy had called it acceptable. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity disagreed. Ambassador Mirai stood before the Galactic Council and tried to keep her voice steady. Behind her, on massive screens, played the footage of the shuttle's destruction. 247 faces appeared one by one, the victims of what she was calling a massacre. When Yuna's face appeared, young and smiling in her university photo, Mirai had to pause to control her emotions. These were civilians, Mirai said to the assembled representatives of 300 alien species. They had no weapons. They were following all navigation protocols. They died because a Vrex warlord decided human lives meant nothing. The council chamber was enormous, a sphere where representatives floated in designated spaces according to their species' needs. Some breathed water, others methane, others things Mirai could not name. They all looked down at her through their various types of eyes, and most of those eyes showed nothing but indifference. Council Speaker Vorthun extended several of his tentacles in what might have been a calming gesture. His species had been part of the council for over 10,000 years. To him, humanity was barely a child. Ambassador Mirai, we understand your distress. However, the Vrex delegation has provided evidence that your shuttle violated restricted space. While the response was perhaps excessive, it was not technically illegal under council law. Excessive, Mirai felt her control slipping. They murdered children. They defended their territorial claims, Vorthun replied calmly. Your species agreed to certain limitations when you joined this council. One of those limitations was accepting that you do not have the military strength to challenge established powers. This is for your own protection. In the Vrex section of the chamber, Warlord Thexkal's hologram appeared. He was massive, covered in scales and battle scars, a creature bred for war. When he spoke, his voice was full of contempt. The humans whine about every small incident. Perhaps if they were stronger, they would not die so easily. But they are weak, and the weak exist only by the mercy of the strong. Several council members made sounds of agreement. Others remained silent. A few representatives of smaller species who also lived under the shadow of stronger powers looked sympathetic but said nothing. Speaking up would only make them targets too. Mirai presented all her evidence. She showed the navigation logs proving the shuttle was in open space. She played the communication records showing the pilot's attempts to comply. She even played part of Yuna's final transmission, her voice singing to dying children. The council voted on her complaint in less than an hour. The decision was to take no action. The Vrex Empire would receive a formal note requesting greater restraint in future encounters, but nothing more. Earth's dead would get an apology and nothing else. Mirai returned to Earth's embassy station in defeat. She had known the council would likely do nothing, but she had hoped. She always hoped that somehow the galaxy would prove to be better than it was. Her assistant met her at the dock. "Ambassador, there's been a development. Prime Minister Suhyun wants to speak with you immediately. Secure channel only." Mirai went to the embassy's most protected communication room. When Suhyun's face appeared on the screen, Mirai was struck by the expression she saw. The Prime Minister looked tired but also determined in a way Mirai had never seen before. "The council rejected everything," Mirai reported. "They don't care that we lost 247 people. They never cared." "I know," Suhyun said quietly. "I've been watching the session. Mirai, I need to tell you something. In about 72 hours, the galaxy is going to change. I wanted you to hear this from me before it becomes public." "What are you talking about?" "For 73 years, Earth has been building a military fleet in secret. A real fleet with real weapons. We've been doing it since the day we joined the council and realized they would never treat us as equals. We hoped we would never need to reveal it. But after what happened to Yuna and the others, after watching the council dismiss their deaths..." Suhyun paused. "We're done being weak." Mirai sat down heavily. "You're saying we have a secret military? How is that possible? The council monitors everything. They monitor what we let them see. We've been very careful. The fleet operates far outside the solar system, in regions the treaties don't explicitly cover. We haven't broken any laws, technically. We just let everyone believe we were following the spirit of our restrictions. How many ships? 2,000 warships. 20,000 personnel. Technology that will surprise everyone who thought humans were primitive." Suhyun leaned forward. "Mirai, I'm sorry we didn't tell you. We couldn't risk any leaks, even from our own ambassadors. But I need you to trust me now. What's about to happen will either save humanity or destroy us. We're betting everything on the galaxy, respecting strength more than peace." The call ended. Mirai sat alone, trying to process what she had learned. Her entire career had been built on diplomacy, on believing that words and reason could solve problems. Now she was learning that her own government had been preparing for war the entire time. She thought about Yuna singing to children. She thought about the council's indifference. She thought about Warlord Thexical's contempt. Maybe Suhyun was right. Maybe the galaxy only respected strength. On Earth, Taiho was drowning his grief in work when a woman approached him at the military base. She was small, young, and wore a civilian clothing. Nothing about her suggested she was anyone important. "Lieutenant Taiho," she said quietly. "My name is Jiwon. We need to talk somewhere private." "I'm not interested in talking to anyone. It's about your sister. It's about making her death mean something." Taiho followed Jiwon to a secure room. She pulled out a tablet and showed him pictures that made his eyes widen. Massive warships under construction. Weapons tests in deep space. Training facilities carved into asteroids. "What is this?" he asked. "This is what Earth has really been doing for the past 73 years. While the galaxy thought we were weak, we were building the strength to protect ourselves. We have a fleet, Taiho, a real fleet, and in 2 days we're going to show it to everyone." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because we want you to join us. We're going to make the Vrex pay for what they did. We're going to force the council to acknowledge that human lives matter. Your sister died because the galaxy thought killing humans had no consequences. We're going to prove them wrong." Taiho looked at the images again. Part of him wanted to dismiss this as impossible. But another part, the part that had listened to Yuna die, wanted it to be true with an intensity that frightened him. "If I say yes, what happens? You'll be smuggled off-world within 12 hours. You'll join the fleet and be part of the operation. You'll likely never be able to return to normal life. If this goes wrong, you might end up dead or in a council prison. But if it goes right, you'll be part of the moment when humanity stopped being prey." Taiho thought of his sister's face. He thought of her singing. He thought of the council's dismissal of her death, as if she had never mattered at all. "I'm in," he said. 24 hours later, Taiho arrived at the flagship Indomitable after a journey through routes that official records said did not exist. When he saw the ship, he understood why the fleet had stayed hidden. It was enormous, bristling with weapons he could not name, powered by engines that burned brighter than anything he had seen in the Defense Corps. Captain Daehyun met him personally. "Your sister died protecting children she didn't know. That tells me what kind of family you come from. We're honored to have you with us. What's the plan?" Taiho asked. "We're going to capture Warlord Thexcal. We have intelligence on his travel route. In 48 hours, he'll be passing through a major hyperspace junction with a battle group of 30 Vrex warships. The Vrex think that's more than enough to handle any threat. They're about to learn otherwise." Taiho was assigned to the heavy cruiser Retribution as a weapons officer. The crew welcomed him quietly, understanding his loss. Many of them had their own reasons for joining the hidden fleet. All of them had been waiting for this moment. In his bunk, Taiho pulled up his sister's final transmission one more time. He listened to her sing. This time, instead of grief, he felt purpose. "I'm going to make them remember you," he whispered to her image. "The whole galaxy is going to remember." The fleet began to move. Warlord Thexcal was in a good mood. His battle group of 30 warships had just finished exercises near the border, showing strength to any species that might forget the power of the Vrex Empire. The destruction of that human shuttle had been a perfect demonstration. Let the weak species see what happened when they forgot their place. His flagship's sensors showed clear space ahead. The Nexus Gate, a major hyperspace junction connecting 12 systems, was only minutes away. After jumping through, he would return to Vrex space for celebrations. Perhaps he would receive another medal for maintaining proper order among the lesser species. "Warlord," his second officer called out. "We're detecting some unusual readings ahead. Could be sensor ghosts from the gate's energy field." "Then ignore them," Thexcal growled. "Sensor ghosts are not worth my attention." But the readings did not go away. Instead, they multiplied. His officer's voice rose in confusion. "Sir, I'm now reading multiple large objects around the gate. They weren't there a moment ago. It's like they just appeared out of nothing." Thexcal moved to look at the sensor display. What he saw made no sense. The Nexus Gate was surrounded by ships, hundreds of them, in a perfect sphere formation that his sensors said was mathematically impossible to achieve without advanced coordination systems. "What species uses this formation?" he demanded. "None that I know of, Warlord. And the power signatures, they're not matching anything in our databases." Then the ships decloaked fully, and Thexcal saw them clearly for the first time. They were sleek, deadly, covered in weapons, and they were all flying the flag of Earth. "Impossible," Thexcal said. "The humans have no fleet. They're restricted to system defense only." His communication officer interrupted. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission on all frequencies. It's being broadcast openly, not just to us. Put it through." A human face appeared on the screen. The man was older, with calm eyes that held no fear. Behind him, Thexcal could see a warship's bridge that looked more advanced than his own. "Warlord Thexcal, I am Captain Daehyun of the Earth-Hidden Fleet. You murdered 247 civilians, including a girl named Yuna who died singing to children. The Galactic Council has deemed this acceptable. Humanity does not." Thexcal felt rage building. "You dare challenge the Vrex Empire? You are a restricted species. You have no authority to field a military fleet." "We have exactly the authority we gave ourselves," Daehyun replied calmly. "The treaties restricted our activities within and around our solar system. These ships were built outside those boundaries. We broke no laws. We simply let you believe we were weaker than we are. It doesn't matter." Thexcal roared. "You're surrounded. You have no idea what Vrex warriors can do in battle. Then show me. Attack and let's see who's really weak." Thexcal cut the transmission and immediately ordered his ships to open fire. 30 Vrex warships unleashed their weapons at once. Energy beams that could melt through any known armor flashed across space toward the human vessels. The human shields absorbed every shot. The energy simply disappeared into them, as if the shields were learning and adapting in real time. Thexcal watched in disbelief as his most powerful weapons did nothing. All ships switched to kinetic rounds. He ordered, "Overwhelm their shields with physical projectiles." But the humans were already moving. Their formation shifted with impossible precision, ships weaving between each other in patterns that should have resulted in collisions but somehow did not. Then they began to return fire. Taiho sat at his weapons station on the Retribution and watched his targeting computer paint enemy ships. The AI was showing him exactly where to aim for maximum damage. It was predicting the Vrex movements before they happened, analyzing their tactics in real time and adjusting accordingly. "Fire on designated target," his commanding officer ordered. Taiho pressed the firing control. The railgun shot out a projectile moving at a significant fraction of light speed. It punched through the Vrex ship's shields like they were not there, tore through the armor and exploded inside. The Vrex ship went dark immediately. Around him, other officers were doing the same. Vrex ships were dying and not a single human vessel had taken serious damage. "Target the Warlord's flagship," the commander said. "Disable their engines but keep them alive." "The captain wants prisoners." Taiho adjusted his aim. This shot was for Yuna. He whispered her name and fired. The projectile hit exactly where he aimed. Thexcal's flagship shuddered as its engines exploded. The massive warship began to drift, powerless. The battle lasted 17 minutes. Of the 30 Vrex warships, 12 were destroyed, 15 were crippled, and 3 managed to escape into hyperspace. Not a single human ship was lost. A few had taken damage, but nothing serious. Daehyun opened a channel to Thexcal's drifting flagship. "Warlord, your battle group is defeated. You are now a prisoner of Earth. You will stand trial for the murder of 247 civilians." Thexcal appeared on screen, injured and furious. "This is an act of war. The Vrex Empire will crush you." "Perhaps they'll try. But first, the galaxy needs to see this battle. We've been broadcasting everything on open channels. Every council member world has been watching. They all saw your ships attack us. They all saw you lose. The galaxy now knows 2 things. Humans are not as weak as you thought, and killing our civilians has consequences." Daehyun ended the transmission and turned to his crew. "Begin securing the prisoners. Medical teams stand by to treat their wounded. We're not savages like them." Across the galaxy, billions of beings had watched the Battle of Nexus Gate. On hundreds of worlds, in thousands of languages, the same conversations were happening. The humans had a fleet, a real fleet with advanced technology, and they had just destroyed a Vrex battle group in minutes. On the Galactic Council station, panic erupted. Species that had aligned with the Vrex suddenly began reconsidering their positions. Species that had suffered under Vrex aggression felt hope for the first time in generations. The ancient species that had dominated the Council for millennia realized their calculations were suddenly wrong. Ambassador Mirai watched the battle from the embassy. She had known it was coming, but seeing it was different. She watched human ships move with grace and precision. She watched Vrex warships fall. She felt something she had not felt in a long time, pride. Her communicator chimed. It was Prime Minister Soo-hyun. "The Council is demanding an emergency session. They want to know what Earth intends to do next." "What do we intend?" Mirai asked. "We're going to the Council station. All of us, the entire fleet. We're going to show them exactly how serious we are. And you, Mirai, are going to make the speech of your life. You're going to demand everything we should have had from the beginning. What if they refuse? What if they attack us? Then we'll find out if we're strong enough to stand alone. But I don't think they'll refuse. We just proved that strength matters more than laws in this galaxy. They understand strength." 3 days later, 1,000 human warships took position around the Galactic Council station. The other 1,000 remained hidden, locations unknown, a reminder that humanity's full strength was still a mystery. Captain Daehyun and Prime Minister Soo-hyun arrived at the Council station personally. Behind them came Warlord Thexcal in restraints, along with crates of evidence from his ship. The evidence proved beyond doubt that the shuttle massacre had been deliberate and unprovoked. The council chamber was more crowded than it had been in centuries. Every species wanted to witness this moment. Some hoped to see humanity humiliated. Others hoped to see them succeed. All of them knew that whatever happened here would change the galaxy. Taiho watched from the Retribution's bridge. His ship was part of the visible fleet, a reminder of human military power. He thought about his sister and wondered if she would be proud of what they were doing. He believed she would be. Yuna had always wanted to build bridges between species, but she would have understood that sometimes strength was necessary to earn the respect that made bridges possible. Daehyun stood before the council and began to speak. His words were carried to every corner of the galaxy, transmitted on channels that could not be blocked or censored. For 73 years, humanity has sought peace with this council. We followed your rules, accepted your restrictions, and believed that patience would eventually earn us equality. We were wrong. The galaxy does not respect peace. It respects strength. So we built strength while pretending to be weak. We did not want to reveal it. We wanted acceptance, not fear. But you forced our hand when you killed our civilians and called it acceptable. He gestured to the evidence displays showing the shuttle massacre. Warlord Thexcal murdered 247 innocent people. The Council did nothing. You told us to accept our place as a weak species. We refuse, Prime Minister Suhyun stepped forward. Earth demands 3 things. First, Warlord Thexcal must stand trial under Council law for his crimes. Second, our probationary status ends immediately, with full rights to colonize and defend our interests. Third, a formal treaty recognizing our sovereignty and right to self-defense. These are not requests. These are requirements for our continued participation in this council. The chamber erupted into chaos. The Galactic Council chamber descended into shouting. Representatives from 300 species tried to talk over each other, their translation systems struggling to keep up with the noise. Some demanded immediate action against Earth. Others called for negotiation. A few remained silent, calculating which side would benefit them most. Council Speaker Vorthun extended all his tentacles in a gesture demanding silence. It took several minutes before the chamber quieted enough for him to speak. This is unprecedented, Vorthun said, his ancient voice carrying across the chamber. Earth has violated the spirit of the treaties, even if not the letter. You built a military fleet while claiming to honor restrictions on your power. Daehyun remained calm. We built ships outside the boundaries specified in the treaties. We stationed them in regions of space the treaties did not mention. We broke no laws. We simply refused to remain defenseless while species like the Vrex killed our people with impunity. A Vrex representative, a general named Krenvas, stood to speak. His voice was full of rage. The Vrex Empire will not tolerate this insult. Warlord Thexcal is a hero of our people. His actions were justified under our laws, but not under Council law, Mireille said, stepping forward. And that's the point, isn't it? The Council has one set of laws for powerful species and another for weak ones. When the Vrex kill our civilians, it's a regrettable accident. When we defend ourselves, it's an act of war. This double standard ends now. Krenvas pointed at the human delegation. You speak of justice, but you are nothing but primitives playing with weapons you barely understand. The Vrex Empire has fleets that will darken your skies. We will turn your worlds to ash! Then do it, Suhyun said quietly. Attack Earth, send your fleets. But know this, we have shown you 1,000 of our ships. We have not shown you all of them. We have revealed some of our technology, but not all of it. If you want war with humanity, you will get war. And you might win. But it will cost you more than you're willing to pay. The threat hung in the air. Every species in the chamber understood what it meant. Earth was betting that the Vrex would not risk total war without knowing humanity's full capabilities. It was a dangerous gamble. An old voice spoke from the far side of the chamber. It belonged to Ambassador Kira of the Rilith, a small species that few paid attention to. I would like to say something if the Council permits. Vorthun looked surprised but nodded. The Rilith may speak. Kira moved to the speaking platform. She was tiny compared to most representatives. Her species evolved on a high-gravity world that made them short and dense. For 300 years, my people have been part of this council. In all that time, we have been told we are too weak to matter. We accepted it because we thought we had no choice. We watched as stronger species took what they wanted from us, and the council did nothing because we could not defend ourselves. She turned to look at the human delegation. Earth has shown us something important. Strength is not just about what you are born with. It can be built. It can be earned. The humans were weak, so they became strong in secret. They did not complain. They did not beg. They prepared. And now they stand here demanding respect, backed by the power to enforce their demands. Kira looked around the chamber at all the assembled species. I vote to grant Earth's demands. All of them. Because if we don't, we are admitting that this council only respects violence and power. We are admitting that justice means nothing here. And if that's true, then what is the point of this council at all? For a long moment, no one spoke. Then another small species representative stood and said, The Tauren also vote to grant Earth's demands. Then another. The Helix vote in favor. One by one, smaller species began to stand and declare their support. Species that had suffered in silence, that had accepted their weakness as inevitable, now saw a chance for something different. If Earth could demand respect through strength, perhaps they could too. The larger species watched with growing alarm. Their dominance had always relied on smaller species accepting their place, but Earth had broken that pattern, and now others were following. The debate continued for hours. The Vrex delegation walked out, promising vengeance. Several ancient species threatened to leave the council if Earth's demands were granted, but slowly, inexorably, the tide shifted. Finally, Vorthun called for a vote. All species in favor of granting Earth full council membership and accepting their treaty terms? The results appeared on the chamber's displays. 241 in favor, 183 against, 76 abstaining. Earth had won. Tieho watched from the retribution as news of the vote spread through the fleet. Around him, crew members celebrated quietly. They had done it. After 73 years of restriction and humiliation, humanity was finally free to chart its own course. He pulled up Yuna's picture on his personal display. "We did it," he whispered to her. "The galaxy that killed you now has to acknowledge we matter. I wish you were here to see it." His commanding officer approached. "Lieutenant Taiho, there's someone here to see you. Says it's important." A woman entered wearing the uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. She looked tired but relieved. "I'm Ambassador Mirai. I wanted to meet you personally. Your sister, what she did in those final moments singing to those children. Her transmission was seen by billions across the galaxy. She became the face of why we couldn't stay silent anymore. I wanted you to know that." Taiho felt tears coming but held them back. She just wanted to go home and show me her engineering project. She didn't want to be a symbol. "No one ever wants to be a symbol," Mirai said gently. "But sometimes that's what the universe needs. Your sister's death changed everything, not because she was a soldier or a hero, but because she was innocent and kind and the galaxy killed her anyway. That injustice woke humanity up. It made us realize we couldn't keep hoping for fairness from a system that had no interest in being fair." After Mirai left, Taiho sat alone with his thoughts. The fleet would be staying in council space for a while, a visible reminder of humanity's power. Then they would begin the work of building colonies, establishing trade, doing all the things that full council members were allowed to do. But first, there was one more matter to settle. Warlord Thexcal's trial began the next day. It was held on the council station, broadcast across the galaxy. The evidence was overwhelming. Sensor logs, communication records, and testimony from surviving Vrex crew members all proved the same thing. Thexcal had destroyed the shuttle deliberately, knowing it was full of civilians as a demonstration of Vrex power. The trial lasted 3 days. Thexcal showed no remorse. He stood before the council judges and declared proudly that he had been within his rights to destroy any vessel that displeased him. Weak species existed only by the mercy of the strong, he said. If humans did not want to die, they should have been stronger. The judges deliberated for less than an hour. Guilty on all counts. The sentence was life imprisonment on a maximum security station, with no possibility of parole. As Thexcal was led away, he looked directly at Daehyun. "This changes nothing. The Vrex will have their revenge. We never forget an insult, neither do we," Daehyun replied. "That's something you should have learned before you killed our people." On Earth, Yuna's parents watched the trial's conclusion from their home. They had been invited to the council station but declined. This was not about revenge for them. It was simply about acknowledgement that their daughter's life had mattered. "Do you think she would have wanted this?" Yuna's mother asked. "All this conflict, all this tension with the galaxy?" Her father considered the question carefully. Yuna wanted to build bridges between species. She believed in cooperation and peace. But she also believed people should stand up for what's right. I think she would have wanted justice, and she would have understood that sometimes justice requires strength. They looked at the memorial they had built in their garden. Yuna's picture sat surrounded by flowers, many of them sent by strangers from across Earth and even from other species. Their daughter had become a symbol, but to them, she would always just be Yuna, the girl who loved engineering, who sang to comfort frightened children, who died too young. In the council chamber, Mirai delivered a final statement. Earth did not want to reveal our fleet. We did not want confrontation. We spent 73 years hoping the galaxy would accept us through patience and good faith. But you taught us that the galaxy only respects power, so we built power. We used it once to capture the murderer of our civilians and to demand the rights we should have always had. We hope we never need to use it again." She paused, looking around at all the assembled species. "But make no mistake, we will use it if we must. Humanity is no longer prey. We are no longer the weak species you can kill without consequence. We are equals now. Treat us as such and we will be the best allies you could ask for. But threaten our people again, and you will learn what we are truly capable of." The message was clear. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had changed it. The question now was what would happen next. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Nexus Gate. The galaxy was still adjusting to the new reality of human power, and humanity was adjusting to the freedom it had fought so hard to earn. Taiho stood on the observation deck of the destroyer Yuna's Light, watching as the ship approached humanity's first official colony beyond the solar system. The planet below was beautiful, covered in forests and oceans with 2 small moons. It had been surveyed years ago, but the treaties had forbidden colonization. Now, 10,000 humans were preparing to make it their new home. The colony had been named New Yuna. His parents had approved the name, though his mother had cried when she heard about it. Every colony ship humanity sent out carried a name from the shuttle manifest. 247 colonies for 247 victims. They would never be forgotten. Commander Taiho, a young officer, said, approaching him. She was new to the fleet, one of thousands who had joined after the hidden fleet became public. "We're receiving a distress call. Rylith merchant vessel under attack by pirates 2 light hours from here." Taiho moved to the bridge immediately. "Show me." The tactical display showed a small Rylith ship surrounded by 4 pirate vessels. The pirates were firing on the merchant's shields, trying to disable them for boarding. It was the kind of common crime that happened throughout the galaxy, usually ignored by major powers because protecting trade routes was expensive. "All crew to battle stations," Taiho ordered. "Helm, plot an intercept course. Maximum speed." The Yuna's Light was a small ship compared to the dreadnoughts like the Indomitable, but it was still more advanced than anything the pirates possessed. They arrived at the battle in less than 20 minutes. "This is Commander Taiho of Earth Defense Fleet vessel Yuna's Light. Pirates, you are ordered to stand down immediately and release your target. You have 30 seconds to comply." The pirates' response was to fire on the Yuna's Light. Their weapons barely registered on the ship's shields. "Return fire. Disable their engines only. No need to kill anyone if we don't have to." The Yuna's Light's weapons were precise. 4 quick shots, 4 disabled pirate ships. The Rylith merchant vessel was safe. Taiho opened a channel to the Rylith captain. "This is Commander Taiho. Are you and your crew safe?" The Rylith captain appeared on screen. His expression was grateful but also surprised. "Yes, Commander. Thank you, but why did you help us? No one helps Rylith traders. We're too small to matter." "You matter to us," Taiho said simply. "Earth remembers who stood with us at the council. Ambassador Kira voted for our demands when no one else would. We don't forget our friends." He arranged for the pirates to be transferred to council authorities and for an escort to guide the Rylith vessel safely to its destination. It was a small thing, helping 1 merchant ship, but word would spread. Species were watching to see what kind of power humanity would become now that they had strength. Aboard the flagship Indomitable, Admiral Daehyun reviewed reports from across human space. Earth's industrial capacity, no longer restricted by treaties, was producing ships at an incredible rate. The hidden fleet of 2,000 had grown to 4,000 in just 6 months. Colonies were being established. Trade routes were opening. Humanity was expanding into the galaxy at a pace that made older species nervous. But there were problems too. The Vrex Empire had not forgiven their humiliation. Intelligence reports showed massive military buildup in Vrex space. They were preparing for something, though it was unclear what. Some analysts predicted an attack on human colonies within the year. Daehyun was reviewing these reports when Mirai contacted him from the council station. "Admiral, we have a situation. The Vrex are demanding the council take action against Earth's expansion. They're claiming we're becoming a threat to galactic stability." "We're becoming a threat to their dominance," Daehyun corrected. "That's different." "What does the council say?" "It's divided. Some species support us. Others are worried we're growing too powerful too quickly. The ancient species are particularly concerned. They're not used to new powers rising so fast. Let them be concerned. We're not doing anything illegal. We're simply exercising the rights that all council members have." I know. But Daehyun, we need to be careful. We won our freedom through strength, but if we're not careful, we could end up isolated. Other species might band together against us out of fear. It was a valid concern. Humanity had spent 73 years being weak. Now they were learning how to be strong without becoming what they had fought against. In Vrex space, Warlord Krenva stood before the Vrex High Command. He had been promoted after Thexcal's capture, and he was determined to restore Vrex honor. The humans have made us look weak. They humiliated our battle group, imprisoned our warlord, and now they spread across the galaxy like a plague. This cannot stand. The Supreme Warlord, oldest and strongest of the Vrex, listened to Krenvas's anger with ancient patience. You propose war? I propose we teach them the cost of challenging the Vrex Empire. One decisive strike against their colonies while their fleet is scattered. Show the galaxy that human ships mean nothing against true warriors. And if we lose? Krenvas hesitated. No one questioned whether the Vrex could win, but the Battle of Nexus Gate had planted doubt. We won't lose. Not if we commit our full strength. The humans showed us some of their technology, but we've been analyzing it. We can counter their advantages. We just need the will to act. The Supreme Warlord was silent for a long time. Finally, he said, "Prepare the fleets. But we will not attack blindly. We will watch and wait for the right moment. The humans are confident now. Confidence leads to mistakes. When they make their mistake, we will be ready." On Earth, life continued for those who were not part of the fleet. Yuna's parents maintained their garden memorial, which had become a place of pilgrimage for people from across the planet. They received visitors every day, people who wanted to pay respects to the girl whose death had changed everything. An elderly engineer named Min Suk visited one quiet morning. He introduced himself to Yuna's parents and explained that he had worked on the Hidden Fleet project for 20 years. Your daughter loved engineering, he said. I read about her final project, the air recycling system. It was brilliant work. Yuna's mother smiled sadly. She always said engineering was about helping people, making their lives better. She was right. And in a way, she did help people. The fleet we built, the ships that changed everything, we built them for young people like her, for the generation that deserved to reach the stars safely. Her death reminded us why the work mattered. Yuna's father looked up at the sky where ships could occasionally be seen passing overhead. Do you think this is what she would have wanted? All the conflict, the military buildup, the tension with the Vrex? Minsa considered carefully. I think your daughter wanted a galaxy where people could live without fear. We tried to achieve that through peace, and it didn't work. Now we're trying through strength. Maybe the answer is somewhere between the two. Maybe we need both the dream of peace and the will to defend it. Time passed. A year after the Battle of Nexus Gate, humanity had established 50 colonies across 20 systems. The fleet had grown to 6,000 ships. Trade with other species was flourishing, especially with smaller powers like the Rylith, who appreciated having a strong ally. The predicted war with the Vrex came, but not in the way anyone expected. It began with skirmishes along the borders, escalated to full fleet engagements, and raged for 3 brutal years. Neither side could achieve a decisive victory. Human technology was superior, but Vrex numbers were overwhelming. Eventually, exhaustion and mutual respect forced both sides to negotiate. The peace treaty established clear boundaries that both powers agreed to honor. It was not friendship, but it was stability. The galaxy learned that humanity was strong enough to defend itself but wise enough not to seek conquest. 20 years after Yuna's death, Taiho retired from active fleet service as an admiral. He had spent 2 decades defending human interests and helping to build the peace that his sister had always dreamed of. He returned to Earth to the Garden Memorial where it had all begun. His twin daughters played among the memorial stones while he stood before his sister's marker. The garden had grown over the years. It now included representatives from dozens of species, all coming to remember and learn about the moment when humanity stopped being prey. "Father," one of his daughters called out. "Who was Yuna?" Taiho knelt down beside them. "She was my sister. She was kind and smart, and she loved to sing. The galaxy was cruel to her, but she taught humanity something important. She taught us that even in death, one person can change everything." Was she a hero? Taiho thought about that question. He remembered the council debate where Mirai had argued that Yuna was not a hero, just a victim whose death demanded justice. He remembered Daehyun saying that the heroism was in what humanity did afterward, not in Yuna's death itself. She was just a person who wanted to go home, Taiho said finally. But what we did because of her, what the galaxy learned from her death, that might be heroic. The important thing is that we never forgot her. Every colony we build, every ship we launch, every time we help someone who can't help themselves, we remember why it matters.